Welcome back to the Horse Racing Show. Delighted to have a good friend of mine for many years, Evan Hammonds, managing editor of The Blood Horse. Sorry to out you as my friend. I don't want to ruin your reputation,
well,
shoot you down or anything.
Got a certain reputation we have to uphold.
That's right. And The Blood Horse has a great reputation. I love reading
Thank
it.
you.
The people you have that you brought in and everything, honestly, it's really great.
Thank you.
I sound like Chris Farley. Hey, remember that time? That was great, man.
Remember that time we cashed that ticket for $360?
Yeah. Okay, when you look back, aside from we know the Santa Anita problems and the problems of tracks and all that, and about the Derby and all that, I think that's going to be right there at the forefront. But there were some great moments on the track and some individual moments, like, for me, just recently, like Todd Pletcher wins his first Classic. Bill Mott wins his first Kentucky Derby. I thought individually there was a couple of big moments this year.
There were, and we were talking earlier, as far as individual performances, I would say Kofefi's run in the Miss Preakness Stakes was one of the it was like one of those moments where you're just stop and watch.
Yeah.
And I can't remember her time, but it was 107 and change or something at Pimlico and Pimlico is a relatively slow track, but I was up in the press box at Pimlico, so you're outside looking down, and it was just stunning to me with how fast she was running.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that in years.
No, I mean,
she did that more than once. I mean, the race she had too against Serengeti Empress was at the test.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. And both horses laid it down there that day.
Yeah, and then she wraps it up in fashion, puts the exclamation point at the Breeders' Cup.
I know. So to me, I mean, I think she was a superstar of 2019.
Interesting this year, Evan, we didn't have the the standard, the 3-year-old that's going to be in the although, I mean, had Code of Honor won, I think he certainly would have been in the mix for Horse of the Year mention, had he won. With McKenzie in the older division, had he won. Probably now, I don't know, can Matoli be that as a sprinter, or will it be Bricks and Mortar, which looks like to me the front runner is Horse of the Year?
I would say I would like to throw Matoli into the conversation, but I think it's pretty locked down on Bricks and Mortar.
I figure Bricks and Mortar had locked it in.
What he's done is, he's won. He's 5 for 5, 6 for 6,
and just impressive, just about everywhere. Every time,
Yeah, everywhere.
And he and Matoli, I thought, were two of the standouts this year.
And Bricks and Mortar too was all year long a 1.25 mile horse, and they debated what to do in the Breeders' Cup. They put him in 1.5 mile. He won that too,
which I thought was the perfect. Just look how good this horse is.
Yeah, and speaking of individual performances in the mile, Uni.
Crazy. I know.
that was actually my best bet of the day, best selection of the day, and she lived up to it. And she sat out there about the 3 or 4 path, but her sustained run. Go back and watch that race again.
Yeah, she
starts picking it up before she goes into the turn.
Yeah,
that's 3/8 of a mile. She was just motoring.
Oh, it was impressive.
And went by everybody.
Yeah, and people saying who's
7 wide.
Yeah, it just kept going.
I know.
Yeah, another individual performance I thought this year among a trainer is Mark Casse wins 2 legs of the Triple Crown with 2 different horses. Yeah. And you kind of go, it's Sir Winston, and you forget about War of Will and Sir Winston. You don't forget about him, but as it goes along.
Yeah, this time next year you're going to say, Sir Winston, what?
Who is that?
Yeah.
And we got the Derby horse that never comes back, and I don't know if we'll see Country House again, Ron.
I don't know. We'll see Maximum Security this weekend.
Yeah, Maximum Security.
Cigar Mile.
Yeah.
That's going to be fun. I mean, that'll be fun to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
but back to your point on Mark Casse, what a great guy. As far as, not only a trainer, but just from a rider's perspective or industry perspective, he always has the time to talk to you.
And he gets it. We know
and he's got an opinion, and he's on it.
Yeah,
he's on it.
And obviously Lucas and Baffert, you think of these guys. They kind of set the standards. They got those bites. They throw them out there. They got them. They got the quotes, and Mark picks up on that. And I think a lot of the younger trainers are picking up on that too. That you kind of got to get out there and sell yourself, right? You got to be in print or be on TV so people know who you are.
If you want to be a trainer, that should be half your business.
Yeah,
it's half training horses, half working the clubhouse and getting the right owners.
Yeah, and sometimes it's pulling teeth. You know that. There's some guys.
I've had a lot of know a lot of people who've been really good horse people, but they're not. They can't sell themselves.
Excellent horse people. I know a few too.
Or we have a lot of guys who can sell themselves and can't train. that'd be a Kenny Rice story too.
There have been a few of those.
And
and then I'd have to close down the show. They'd say, "Look at him now. Look at him. He's just slamming our sport. He shouldn't have mentioned those people."
No, I'm not mentioning any names.
Do you have some favorites out there? Some favorite stories that you covered over the years? Maybe a favorite person? Like for me, example. Okay, mine's one obvious one. American Pharoah wins the Triple Crown.
Yeah,
and I'd been there for the near misses and all that. And then the next one would be juxtaposed to that how well Doug O'Neill handled I'll have another not running at the Belmont, and I had to do the interview with him on not running, and then the interview with Bob.
Well, to me personally, I'll have another winning the Derby. I thought that was a fantastic story.
Yeah.
That was a very financially rewarding for me. But it was a horse that I kind of latched onto. You always look for horses that can do things other horses can't do.
Yeah.
And I'll have another. I think in his first 3-year-old race, he ran a middle half mile that was a crazy fast time, like 47 and something.
Yeah.
And no other horse did that. And so he stood out to me as a horse that could win the Derby. And he kind of got ignored. I mean, he's 15-1. He had Mario Gutierrez. He had Post 19, and the more things that were thrown at him, the more money I was like going up to the window and betting. So it turned out to be a great story. But that's the thing you look for, or I look for in Derby horses, and you find it every once in a while. Yeah. Barbaro was one of those. He stood out. Actually, Maximum Security kind of stood out this year, and he was the fastest horse. Just didn't. It had some other circumstances. So but to your point, as far as stories, and I hate to go back to Whittingham, but there's no better story than the Sunday Silence Easy Goer story.
Yeah,
hands down,
greatest. For a generation, the greatest rivalry.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody remembers was that round to really follow Ali Sheba, Ali Dar, or some of the others. Or Ali Sheba. Ali Dar. Affirmed Ali Dar. We were talking earlier about Ali Sheba. I've got this Ferdinand Ali Sheba thing on my mind.
That's okay.
Thank you.
No, but the positioning between East and West, the positioning between the Phipps versus Arthur Hancock, Whittingham versus young upstart Shug McGahee.
The young Shug McGahee.
It had it all. It had it all.
That was great. And
Sunday Silence was my probably. I mean, if you look at your favorite horses and you said favorite stories, I would say the Sunday Silence story is the best story. Yeah. My favorite.
No, and to me that's a great thing. Nobody can be wrong on that. Really,
that's
right?
Yeah.
I mean, Swale, because I took my dad to the track and watched him run at Keeneland, I was like Swale.
Okay.
I don't know if he'd be my favorite, but he'd be one of them for that reason.
My dad was a big Holy Bull nut.
Yeah. And so, for those reasons, I think you can have, like you have favorite players, favorite teams.
Yeah.
Which I'd like to see horse racing do a little more. And that's what the Blood Horse does to me, like with the Charlie Whittingham, and I think it needs to be promoted more. Some of these, some of the history to remind young fans about it and keep them interested, because I love the old baseball stuff and the old football stuff, the old NFL films. Yeah. And you don't have a lot of those outlets for horse racing. You really don't have any, actually. We'll pull out some for the NBC shows for select things.
Yeah.
But I remember one time doing a story on Don Amici for the Breeders' Cup news feed.
Whoa, that was when is
it was in 93? 93. Yeah, 93, our Kong's year.
Okay.
Right?
Okay,
thanks. See, that's why you look it up.
That's why you look it up. But
I was out there and he was on the apron. It was in the morning of a workout, and I just went up and introduced myself and asked if I could interview him. And what a gracious man.
Yeah.
And I love it. And he started talking about the old days and pointed up there to boxes. He said, me and Betty Grable sitting there with Ty Power, smoking cigarettes, watching the races.
Yeah.
And, I love that stuff. And actually, Santa Anita was good. They have this footage, and we actually incorporated some of that footage with the story that was on the news feed, not on NBC.
Yeah, and that's true. If you had run into Don Amici somewhere else, he probably would have said, "Beat it, kid."
Yeah.
But at the racetrack, it's like, oh, yeah, let me tell you about that time we were here. And, it's a great story.
And I think people do get involved in that more. At least I think they do.
Yeah, I mean, but the racetrack is a great place because everybody loosens up a little bit.
Yeah,
lightens up a little bit.
Even on a bad day, it's a good day,
Even like this year at this year's Breeders' Cup, Shug McGahee was just open and just walking about, and he's never really been a guy who comes up to you and starts a conversation. He came up to me twice.
Well, you know,
Just, hey, what do you think? What are you doing?
it was a big deal.
Yeah.
It was a big deal.
Yeah. So, I mean, everybody loosens up a little bit at the track, even if you're working.
Evan, thank you for coming in.
Oh,
Make it to the
pleasure.
bunker. Very few people have
Well,
dared do that.
Well, I got to make sure I get out of the bunker.
Wow, you'll get out. Read it. Read him every week. Read the Blood Horse every week. He's the managing editor, Evan Hammonds, who'll be back with us again in the bunker someday soon, I hope.
Someday soon. I hope so.
We'll be back
Waiting
with
on the
more
call.
right after this.